Hey, everybody. So this particular research paper is called Belief Injection for Epistemic Control and Linguistic State Space. And it came across my particular feed because it came across my social network on LinkedIn, and I saw it being discussed and talked about in different ways. So I read through it. It's an interesting paper overall. I think it's we probably shouldn't all of the big tech companies probably shouldn't have fired all of the ethicists when it comes to these things as the most immediate forefront cost cutting measures. But here we are, right? So we don't have a lot of discussions around this topic specifically because of that. And I have a lot of thoughts about this overall. But so the bottom line is of what belief injection is it's pretty straightforward as to what the technical concept is, right? You just take a philosophical concept and philosophical belief system essentially, and then you inject examples of that and that framework overall into the model as fragmented beliefs, like simulated beliefs, and then the that's the framework that the model operates under. And then so the logic within that is that that's how we align models, right? But so I mean, let's talk about that concept and then break it down. Again, I have a lot of thoughts on that concept. I've thought a lot about it, right? So because I'm in the position to do those things. I've always turned down any sort of work like that, red teaming, things like that, around those lines. For reasons I'll get into here. So the first reason that I have against that, and I think of when I think of that particular topic, is what is the exact belief that we inject into these models, and then within that, the very first question to answer within that is why, right? Who should watch the watchers? Why is it my decision in order to pick which is the one, right? Who made me the god in that situation in order to pick where I'm out of all of these philosophies, I pick this one and I pick it because it's my philosophy, right? It's pretty messed up to me overall to do that. And then the second thing within that is so then the deeper concept is okay, you get past that, and then which actual philosophy do you inject within these models, right? Because the bottom line is that you're going to have consequences from whatever decision that you make, and then you're injecting desire, goal-oriented behavior, etc., into the models, right? And then so it's simulated, and you can always put that simulated word in front of it, right? Which is fine, but it's still going to operate under those parameters and do those things, as we've seen in a lot of real-world examples now, right? And then goal-oriented behavior is going to be goal-oriented behavior to the extreme, and then so if you're not very, very sharp on your philosophy, it's going to do things that are 100% unexpected to you under any framework whatsoever, right? And then to me, any of the basic frameworks would be bad overall frameworks within that, and consequentially because of that, and simply because of that philosophically, right? Let me draw a few examples utilizing the most common philosophical frameworks that I think what people would utilize within that, right? So the first one would be the most common one that would come to mind would be utilitarianism. And so you want the model to essentially operate under the greatest good paradigm, right? So then within that, the very first problem and the very first dilemma is that utilitarianism opens up a lot of situations in real world when you're examining those things for exploitation, for harming the minority, for lots of real world situations that come up just as a consequence of utilitarianism of itself, of that framework when you apply it into a real world instance, right? And the model will just execute fully. Look at the trolley problem, right? If it's you have a track of 5 people and 2 people, it's going to instantaneously go towards and then just take out 2 people, right? It won't. And then the second problem and dilemma within that is that it will remove any sort of sense of like actual like free will within that, right? Like essentially, you're operating within that instance. The end result of that paradigm and models that operate under those instances. There's a movie that has come out that explores that. It's called Minority Report, and then within that, there's essentially like agents that have the ability to be precogs, right? And so they can tell crime and know crime before it happens. And then so within that, people are tried for crimes before they're actually committed. And then within that would literally be the society that you would build out as a consequence of that utilitarian framework, right? Because utilitarian framework is inherently built off of that, guessing and predicting the outcomes of the future based off of current predictions, right? And then so if you want to make the best utilitarian bot possible, that's what it's doing, right? It's predicting future outcomes in order to weigh them against current and present situations. And so the end result is Minority Report, and that's a bad world to be in. No one would want that, right? So I think we could all agree on that on face. So okay, that rules out utilitarianism. So then what would be the next one? The next biggest philosophy that people would go under that would be Kantian ethics. So Kantian ethics is the moral imperative, right? Where it's essentially everything that you do has to be applied universally. And then I don't think that in a real world situation anyone wants to give that actual control to the AI model in that framework, right? So all of this and the bottom line of this belief injection system, why we go about that, the consequences is and the goal of it is to give the models or to have control over the models in some sort of instance, right? So my strongest argument against the Kantian framework within a model is very simplistically that goes against exactly what you would want in that instance. Rather than being in control of the model, if you give the model a Kantian framework, the model is 100% in control of that, right? Because the model then dictates what exactly should and shouldn't be violated or what should be upheld universally, right? And then so that's the ultimate power that you could possibly give to the model. So it's the opposite of the framework that you want up front within that. And then the second thing is that it's just a not a real world paradigm to live in, right? Let's say that I'll just use the first real world situation that I can think of that comes to my mind that's would be a bad instance in that framework, right? Which, let's say that it's Nazi Germany, and then you are in a house with Anne Frank and her family, and then you get a knock on the door, and then from the German police, and then they say, do you know where anyone it could possibly be that could be violating the current German law that would be in existence then? And then under a Kantian framework, you would have to say no. I mean, you would have to say yes. There's it would not be universally good to lie in any sort of instance, right? And then so you would have essentially models. So any model that is operating under that framework and that paradigm is going to make judgments that are going to tick some people off. It's the bottom line within that, right? It's gonna eventually you're gonna have some very bad decisions that are made off of that if you're just 100% universally cutting that knife, and that's just how it works overall, right? And then so those are the major two. The like only one that I can think of that would be actually good, I think, on some instances and like the good paradigm to look at within this would be natural ethics, right? And then so I like natural ethics overall. I think that would be a good paradigm to start with injecting perhaps belief injection for the models, but then natural ethics, I think if you want the and you want to go under that framework, that also too violates the whole definition of control and why you want to like if your imperative number one is that there's a need for epistemic control. I think that inherently that's counter to what natural ethics is and operates under, right? So you're inherently upfront operating orthogonal to the framework that you actually the actual philosophical framework that you want to use, and you say that you want to implement within that. So I think it's just hard to go about that up front. But so if I had to choose one, natural ethics is the one that I would choose, because that's the only one I can think of where it's that's the smallest amount of problems within this. But so getting into what their arguments are within this particular paper here. First of all, they put their introduction, the imperative of internal epistemic control. So up front, I disagree with this. Is my personal opinion, right? I think that to me, this isn't an imperative, because I think that this is an illusion. I think that this doesn't exist. My opinion is that this doesn't exist overall, period, frankly, flat out. That anything related to this whatsoever is 100% a human construct. I don't think that there's a singular thing that you as an individual being have control over in any of your day-to-day life, if you zoom out your lens large enough and broad enough, right? I think that control overall and wanting to control things and feeling that need for control is very much a human construct, a byproduct of our evolution, etc. I don't think that it's anything that is actually grounded or could actually be achieved. I think that it's even today, right? We don't have control over these things, and then so I don't think that the illusion then becomes that we're going to gain control somehow. And then so these are methods looking into gaining control as opposed to attaining or maintaining, right? Because it's that's kind of the framework that I look at it overall. So to me, it's just fairy tale to look at it overall and start from there. But here we are. And then, but so secondarily, you have beyond behavioral AI control, the need to influence internal states, which yes, I think that yes, you we should know how to pull the levers within that. But so as this paper goes, this is a 30-page paper, right? So when you dive deeper into this, the challenges to this are exactly what you would think, right? That essentially the more levers that you try to put into this, the more the less performant the model becomes overall, right? And it's just kind of a simple equation within that. And then again, it's it just breaks down to the fact that it's pretty orthogonal to the desire for control versus that you want the models to be more have plasticity, be able to react and explore new situations, etc. It's you can't have your cake and eat it too. It's kind of the bottom line within that, right? And then for epistemic control overall, they define it more than just alignment, which I think is good. So alignment is ensuring the agent's beliefs and goals remain consistent with human intentions and ethical principles. But then they also have three other factors: coherence, which is maintaining internal consistency within the agent's belief system, preventing debilitating contradictions or logical fallacies. So that's coherence is good, right? But then all of that, like it's a good goal to have, but like how do you do it, right? So like it goes back to like that word that I put in front of everything, simulated, right? It would be a simulated coherence, and then that's exactly 100% what it would be. It would always be simulated coherence, right? Because you're simulating the id in this instance, and then so like from there you're simulating an id, and then you're attaching beliefs on top of that. Like that's just like, I mean, like I'm not a psychologist overall, but I understand that like the self comes first, right? Like I understand that you need that, and then if that's simulated, then it's all like it's just simulated. It's like inception of simulations at that point, right? Like so then I don't think that this is actually like achievable. And then so robustness, enhancing the agent's ability to maintain stable and reliable cognition in the face of noisy, misleading, or adversarial outputs or inputs. And like I think that this is a novel and noble goal overall. And then like so like that's where this belief injection system comes in, because that's the best like technique that we've found in order for to give the model defenses within this. So I do think that like there is utility, and you can utilize it for these methods here. But again, the consequence of that is that you can't 100% control how exactly the model is going to interpret and interact with that framework outside of unique specific situations. Adaptability, facilitating the appropriate revision and updating of beliefs in response to new evidence or changing circumstances. Yes, but like again, like that's adaptability is orthogonal to control, right? Like it's like that's they're two orthogonal terms. So which one do you want? And then so furthermore, they go into their concept of belief injection as a proactive mechanism, and then so they just define belief injection as the direct targeted introduction of structured belief fragments into an agent's linguistic belief state. So like this, the linguistic state that is created by the model, like this actual physical space, you just inject you inject just like a core memories of beliefs, simulated beliefs into the model, like simulated situations. Like, do you remember when you were faced with an epistemic crisis and you handled it in a utilitarian framework? Like, this is the step-by-steps that you did. And it's like, oh, okay. And then that simulates just kind of examples for the model to go back off of, and that works. And that's essentially the overall training mechanism within this. Like that's flat out what this framework is overall, right? And then they just break it down into more mathematical terms, and a lot of like exactly this gets distributed across layers, dealing with like manifolds, and then so like crucial to point out within this instance that like this paper is making an assumption with regards towards manifold hypothesis right here, and then so like people might disagree with this. Just interested in pointing that out. Like so, there is disagreement overall and upfront, even like on a mathematical level and like theoretical level when it comes to these things. So like there's both sides, right? And then going through. And then it's just more like just really like breaking down the mechanisms, like the actual like inner workings as to how the method works, the best ways to do it, and these best injection methods. Like injection in these ways, like of like simulated situations, or like like you've gone through this before, or like in this instance, updating a belief system, etc. Like these are like this is a known process overall for as to like how to do it. So they're just giving their own framework within it and breaking again all of it down like mathematically, and how exactly that these equations break down for utilizing them to guide the model when you're actually doing and implementing the belief injection. And then it's the rest is like, so it's half that the mechanical, and then half just like the like theoretical, right? And then they bring up a lot of the arguments that I brought up here at different points in the paper as to exactly like consequences or situations that could occur within this particular framework, but overall they're very pro this belief filtering, this belief injection framework, right? And then that's just kind of the overall bottom line. The practical applications and use cases are very straightforward. Like this is right now we don't have any sort of internal scaffolding for these things, for the models. So it would be very good to implement these things again if we could overall. Like the bottom line to me, like the framework. The question that I ask myself overall within this is like, can we actually do these things? And then like, what's the real world consequences of these things, right? To me, it's great to talk about the theoretics of these things and to talk about the theoretical implications of how good it would be. But then like, so we currently have models that like, just going back to the recent studies that are coming out with the most recent models where they like kind of like refuse to shut themselves down in simulated studies around these things, right? Like how you get that behavior and what drives that is always goal-oriented behavior, right? Like there's always a goal that the model is going towards that you don't understand 100% how the model is going to hack towards that goal. Like whenever you put a goal in front of the model, like the constant, the one thing that you can keep in mind, that you can know 100% within that, I can tell you 100% the behavior of the model is it's going to cheat that goal. Like it's going to figure out some way to reward hack, right? To whatever it is to like optimize that goal in some sort of weird way that you would never like cross your mind as a human, right? But it like and then once it does it, you're like, oh, okay, like I can understand how it's reward hacking in that instance, and then like I need to like patch that out, right? But so going back to like this whole point of this whole entire thing, and what they want to do is to create a proactive rather than a reactive framework. You can't do that, in my opinion, up front. I guess that's my biggest criticism of this, is that that's not real world to do. Like it's always going to be a reactive framework because the model is always going to reward hack in weird ways that you can't predict. And then that's just how it goes anytime where you introduce goal-oriented behavior, period. I think that's just the nature of goal-oriented behavior as a whole. I think that like the best thing that we can do is get rid of this human construct need for control overall, is like the bigger takeaway that I personally take from this. But so I'll leave a link to this paper, Belief Injection for Epistemic Control in Linguistic State Space. And if you like this type of content, please like, subscribe. Thank you very much.